Hello and welcome back to the 50-50 Football Podcast, where we bring you the beautiful game from every angle. I'm your host, Kelvin Oswansa, and today with Kweku Safumenta and Nana Asari, we've got a packed episode for you as we head the halfway point of the Premier League season, as well as all the major leagues. We are delving deeper into our half-season review, breaking down the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Which teams have exceeded expectations? Who has underperformed? And what surprises have defined the campaign so far? Then we are tackling the big story that sent shockwaves through Stamford Bridge. Enzo Maresca has exited Chelsea. In Chelsea's identity crisis, we are going to talk about that. What has gone wrong? Where do the Blues go from here? And what can they do to salvage their season amid this chaos? Plus, we've got you covered on the latest AFCON updates, getting into the round of 16. And they have to get past the round of 32, and that is where most of the teams have lots to worry about. But the drama and the standout performances, players lighten up the continent as Africa's best battle for glory. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been banned outright from the Gabon national team. We'll be getting into a lot more of that. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's get into it. This is the 50-50 Football Podcast, where the conversation is always 50% analysis, 50% passion, and 100% football.
No, but I always say that your intros alone, they are Oscar-worthy intros.
Absolutely. All right. Fantastic. Well, yes, thanks for staying with us. Let's quickly get into, our discussion. Let me welcome my gentleman, Kweku, Nana. Thanks for joining me once again on the 50-50 Football Podcast. It's been an exciting, period of festivities, but I hope you guys have enjoyed it.
Thank you for having us.
It's been wonderful. Nana Asari finally joined us. He built out on that on the first episode. I don't know what he was doing. He was starting his way through Dirty December.
Well, that's
with
true.
Us now.
Yes.
Or maybe he was talking to Amorim.
or you went for a prayer session for Amorim.
You clearly didn't listen, and the prayer clearly didn't work.
Intercessory prayer.
Well, maybe you would have to take some time for it to work. All right. But guys, let's quickly get into this. Nana, because you are joining us, I'll let you start from this. The season is halfway through. First of all, let's look at the top performers. First of all, which team has impressed you so far?
So far, the team that has impressed me most would be Aston Villa. Not because I didn't think they would be good, but the way they started and the way they've rallied with 11 straight victories, it's impressive what the coach has been able to do. So I'm very impressed with them. And Sunderland as well. Sunderland, I thought they would probably be, all three teams that came up will probably be struggling and probably just only one would stay up. But Sunderland have performed exceptionally well, above and beyond what anyone thought that they would be. So yeah, those two teams are the most impressive to me.
Kweku, which of the teams have impressed you so far? And then I would let you add, three players. You can mention three players who have actually been, stalwart for you this season.
Kelvin, thanks again. For me, it wouldn't be so different from what Nana said. I think Nana hit the nail right on its head. We've had very, very, a very competitive season so far, especially in the Premier League. And so, looking at the Premier League, Sunderland, obviously, new manager, hasn't managed in the Premier League before, literally built a new team, and they are flying in the Premier League, right? So they've done really, really well. People thought they would be stragglers, but they haven't been. They haven't lost at home all season. They've been phenomenal. I'm not so surprised about Aston Villa. I mean, it's Unai Emery. I'm not surprised about him at all, or I'm not surprised about what Aston Villa is doing. But Bournemouth, for me, they've been amazing. Listen, they are 15th. Forget about where they are, but look at what happened to them in the summer. They lost their entire backline. They lost their goalkeeper, Kepa. They lost their central defensive pair, right? So they lost Dan Huijsen, they lost Zabrani, and then they lost their left back, Milos Kerkez, right? To Liverpool. So I thought they would be stragglers this season. I thought they would really, really struggle because they didn't really pump much money into the team. And then they brought in new players who haven't even played in the Premier League before. But they found a way to play. They found a way to win. And they are 15th. I wouldn't say they're comfortable, but they're not relegation battlers. So they've really, really impressed me. I'm not surprised about Arsenal being top at the moment. Maybe you can tell me more about your club. What are you guys doing differently? Kelvin, you tell us what are you guys doing differently?
I think it's about the passion. It's about, the consistency and the edge to win. Getting close to the title for a little over 2 seasons, knowing that, the fine margins were to be corrected. And you look at the Arsenal team, and the squad depth actually now is telling. If Arsenal can lose stalwarts like Saliba, lose Gabriel, not having, two of their most, important players in attack not present in Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, Odegaard got missing. Saka is not really in his element. But you look at the rest of the squad and they seem to be pulling up. If Odegaard is not performing, you have Eberechi Eze on the bench who hasn't even glittered so much. If Calafiori is not performing, Miles Lewis Kelly, who had a very good season last year, is there. If Timber is not available, you have a very good replacement in that is Ben White. If Hinkapie is not available, that there is Mosquera, likewise all the other central defenders. So I think that it's been, correcting the fine margins and then making sure that victories in crucial games have been gained. And I think that is what has helped Arsenal. Last season, Arsenal lost out 4 points to, although I say 5 points because they just got 1 point from, the 2 games against Aston Villa. This time around, they are getting, crucial points from the games that you'd have expected them to lose. And I think that is actually helping them. They believe, football is all about consistency. Manchester City was not built in a day, They had to go through the phases from Manuel Pellegrini and then get to this level. Jurgen Klopp managed to, consistently be second to Pep Guardiola until it got to a point that, Guardiola had to just, fumble for him to win the title. So I think it's about the consistency, consistency of result, the winning mentality, and the players available. Nobody can have a Declan Rice who was captain of West Ham and then fail at a particular point. And I think that is what has really transformed the Arsenal team. And I'm very much okay with that. And looking at the difficulties of players surviving this season, I think I'll pick up my standpoint. Granit Xhaka, on any day, you look at the Sunderland team, and I think that he's the one who's virtually knit everyone together. And I think that
I agree.
He's virtually my top player this season. He's actually proven everyone wrong that yes, as much as Arsenal did not want him, he went to Germany. He's back with a bang. And my second player that I think has really inspired or really gotten me to it is Newcastle United's Voltmada, the striker. I wasn't expecting him to be an instant hit, but he virtually carries the team along almost every now and then, and it's phenomenal. The third player, I can't say it and leave out my player at Arsenal, Leandro Trossard. I don't know how many people expected Leandro Trossard to be this phenomenal this season, but he's virtually.
I think he's doing what Saka is supposed to do,
and that is what I say. Arsenal have players who are stepping up every now and then for each other, and that has been clear. I'll leave you guys to also mention the players that you think have been crucial for their teams this season before we move on to the next couple of discussions around the halfway season.
Speaking of Trossard, I think he's been quite good. I think he's kind of accepted a form of the Chicharito role where he just comes on off the bench and just impacts the game. And understanding that position and playing it to the best of his ability, he's added a bit more guile to us now when they ring in the changes.
That you mean Leandro Trossard, right?
Yeah. Kwaku, what about you?
Antoine Semenyo has been a revelation for him to be perhaps the most sought after player in the league alone. Tells you a lot. In the last episode, I said it, that he perhaps never thought that he would get to a point where all the big teams would fight for his signature and he would be touted as the best winger in the league, right? So for me, Antoine Semenyo has been a revelation this season. He's playing the football of his life and he thoroughly deserves the recognition that he's getting. But the curious case of Chelsea, from title contenders to title pretenders. I know Antonio is here, and now Maresca is out of the door. I don't know what's going on, Antonio. What's going on at Chelsea? Tell us more. What happened? We woke up and then we heard the news that he's gone, and all of a sudden we heard that he was talking to Man City. What's the situation going on there?
We knew things were not rosy, but Antonio, you can let us know. Yeah.
I mean, you guys sound like some Chelsea correspondents. I like it. I feel like Matt Law at this point. So let me talk. Thank you.
Exactly. On our podcast, you be our Chelsea correspondent. So note that.
Yeah. So honestly, with this Maresca thing, when it started, was it 2-3 weeks ago with him talking about his 48 hours being the worst and all of that? He loves the fans. And the media just spiraled it to mean that he has an issue with those at the top. I thought it was going to be one of those things that come and go, one of those jokes that happen and go away. Then results were not going as planned. All of a sudden, we hear this guy is talking to Man City. But how are you even talking to Man City when Guardiola is still there? But I could understand that part too. Yesterday, I did not see it coming at all. The first night, New Year's Eve, we're expecting to be getting ready for Man City. Hopefully, we can pull out our magic of beating the big boys and losing to Leeds and co. Then we hear this news. But again, it felt like, no, and this was one of those things. But as the nights drew closer with Fabrizio tweeting constantly, it looked like it was bound to happen. And for me, I felt Maresca may have orchestrated all of this. Most Chelsea fans are pissed about this, blaming the board and all of that. But I try to look at it from another angle, from also being a worker, going to work every day, how maybe there are days I love my job, there are days I don't love my job. Looking at it from that angle, I think this guy instigated everything from that 48 hours thing he said, trying to get himself fired. Maresca seems to be one very ambitious guy. He came from Leicester, spent how many seasons? Was it one season, won the league, straight to Chelsea, told to everything they were doing. We have this model we want to use. He kowtowed to everything. And he showed in his first season, I know what, I can actually win things. And my stock price gone high. So how about we try and demand some more stuff and see if they are going to also play ball, same way I could told. Are they also going to play ball? And it seems that Chelsea model is the power is concentrated real up there with the sporting directors. So I'm not surprised he's people are saying he walked out, others are saying he got fired, mutual agreements, I don't know, but I think Maresca may have orchestrated all of this himself. And good for him because his stock prices are high. Like I said, he would, if I were Man U, I'd be looking to get rid of Amorim real quick and bring him in. So
you have to throw in Man United in there.
Exactly. But Antonio, looking at this, do you think that anything went wrong tactically? For me, I think that Maresca, with his eye for the Manchester City job, has brought this upon himself with the current wranglings. We know, yes, there are issues with Chelsea's team and all that. But do you think anything went tactically wrong and behind the scenes that might have, sparked up, this thing? Because we felt after winning the Club World Cup, he was the toast of the front and the entire team.
Yeah. I don't think things went tactically wrong. Again, I'll say he probably orchestrated this himself because this guy was crying out for a defender when Levi Colwill got hurt. He was consistently talking about how Colwill is the center of his team. Fofana and Cole cannot replace him. He doesn't know how to play. They don't play the way he plays. Crying for a defender, what did we get? We got Garnacho, we got Bonanote, we got some other weird signings, and still that problem wasn't solved. That the leadership felt we have enough defenders, make do with what you have, which is what you get when you are dealing with people like this. And I listened to one guy talk about how Pochettino, who dealt with Daniel Levy all his life and still made headway, was not able to deal with these guys past the season. So I think he was really put in a corner where he didn't have the resources he wanted. He may have been working with blunt knives. And for some time, we saw how he was rotating heavily. Those rotations, I think, have helped because I haven't seen Reece James play this long. Fofana is back playing. He's not injured yet. So there's a positive side to it. But then there are other reports saying that he's been going against what the medical teams recommend and that they want him to rotate more, which is not doing. But I don't know any EPL manager that rotates more than Maresca. So some of these reports are very confusing. So I don't know. I can't say it's a tactical thing. I feel like it's an orchestrated thing, in my opinion.
Antonio, I have a few questions, right? So for me, I think it's an identity crisis. When you read all the reports coming in, it has nothing to do with the football he played. It has nothing to do with the results, right? It's more of a disconnect. There's no alignment between the top and the manager, right? The technical team.
Exactly.
There isn't that alignment. There isn't that synergy. There isn't that common cause or objective that we are both heading towards, right? And I kind of feel there's this identity crisis happening at Chelsea after Abramovich sold the team to Clear Lake and Blue Coal, right? So for me, that's where the issue is. If the manager comes out to talk about ambition, comes out to talk about, he's had the worst 48 hours, and it's not as if he's not getting paid. He's getting a salary every week or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, the cadence is. But what really is the point? What's going on in there at Chelsea? What's the objective of the club? You guys became Chelsea fans because Chelsea became this ruthless winning machine built by Abramovich. He comes into the team and the first thing he does is, okay, I'm new in football. I buy a football club. I want to build a winning machine. What do? I go to the best and most well-run club in the country and I pluck their CEO. So he goes to Man United and he brings in Peter Kenyon as a CEO, right? He gives Ranieri a year to prove himself. It doesn't work out. He kicks him out. He brings in Jose Mourinho, who had won back-to-back European titles and he had been a serial winner. So he was the best young manager, the next big thing in world football. He had proven himself. He comes in and says, I'm the special one. They buy the best players in the world. At a point in time, just had about 7 national team captains, even some on the bench at Chelsea. And they were winning everything. Every year there is a trophy. And they don't fight for the Mickey Mouse trophies. They fight for the best, right? So for me, there is this identity crisis. Chelsea are paying top dollar for mediocre talent, and the objectives that they are setting really doesn't fit perhaps the ambition of Maresca, because he said something. He said he's a very ambitious person. You follow Chelsea more than any of us, right? So for me, there's that identity crisis with Chelsea. They need to understand and define without any ambiguity the sort of club that they want to be, where they want to go, and act like it. Because what beats my mind is the fact that a Chelsea manager, Chelsea Football Club, the pride of London, Chelsea Football Club manager is flirting with the Manchester City job, whereas that job is not even vacant. That beats my imagination. Maybe you guys have more to say to it, but for me, there's an identity crisis. Chelsea need to figure out the sort of club that they want to be, and not this whole Tottenham Pro Max that they are trying to be, Spurs Pro Max that they are trying to be. They need to figure out the exact model that they want to go. Are we going to be a club that is a serial winner? Then this is the way we are going. You don't buy mediocre players, bringing inexperienced technical team. They've never won the league before. Well, they might have the talent, but there isn't that synergy, right? So what are you really trying to achieve? I think there was this signal of intent, especially with the Enzo Fernandez purchase. They went to Benfica and said, name your price or we don't leave. They pushed and made Benfica name their price, and then they got their player out of Portugal. But since then, what has happened? Look at the sort of players that they've brought into the team. Where's the direction? What exactly is the model? Like, what type of club do you want to be? Do you want to compete with the best at all times? Do you want to be a serial winner? Because for me, that's the only reason why lack of ambition is the only reason why a Chelsea manager, Enzo Maresca, who before Chelsea was a nobody, with all due respect, Chelsea have propped his name up, and now he's flirting with the Man City job, whilst that job is not even vacant. Man City is not even Man United, it's Man City. For all that's good, Chelsea are a way bigger club than Man City are. Yeah. So again, maybe Antonio, you guys, Kelvin, and also say
before Antonio comes in,
Kweku mentioned that we are trying to be Spurs Pro Max. Look, for a Chelsea fan, that's very insulting. No way are we trying to be Spurs. Never. We would happily be Brighton than be Spurs. So, yeah.
I just wanted to say that clear.
I think I agree with everything else you say. Okay, I agree with everything else you say, but not Spurs Pro Max. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Nana, I'm coming to you, but it's 2,428 days until Clear Lake Capitals contra the Spurs. And we're talking about the coaching issue. The big chances created in the Premier League in the last Premier League games. Chelsea had 18, 5 more better than West Ham, who are second, and then Aston Villa with 11, Brighton 10, Burnley 9, Spurs and the rest will follow, Newcastle and Sunderland and Manchester United, City at the base with just 4 each. But Nana, where do Chelsea go on from here? And if you were a Chelsea fan, what would be the potential replacement?
I'm struggling to find where they would go from here, because I don't think they were prepared for this in terms of how quickly they had to decide to sack him. I think they sacked him to save face because he clearly disrespected the club. by coming out and saying that he's been flirting with the Man City job, you clearly do not respect the people who have employed you. So Chelsea just had to sack him to kind of gain some respect back. And the issue now is there are not really a lot of good managers available. So they would have to break their bank and go and pay a huge compensation. To bring in someone. Probably any of the three managers who have been touted to take over from Amorim, either Andoni Raiola, the guy at Crystal Palace, what's his name?
Glasner,
or they bring Oliver Glasner, or they bring in someone from another league. But I don't think they can bring in anyone that can turn their fortunes immediately, and they might end up dropping a few places just because of how quickly this thing has taken shape.
I see this whole chat about who's available. I don't get it. Like, Enzo Maresca wasn't sitting at home when Chelsea went in for him. He had a job. So for me, I don't think it's a point. It's a question about who's available. Antonio, what do you think?
let me first answer. Where do we go from here? Look, on paper, like Nana said, he's struggling to see where Chelsea's going from here. From a Chelsea fan perspective, we know exactly what Claire Lake and Co are going to do. They're going to bring in Ian Rosignol to step in from Strasbourg and then hope things go well. And if you ask me, what do I see? I see it happening like Potter. Potter comes in after Tuchel. Things don't go well. We go get in a Lampard, something, trying to save face until we eventually come across a Maresca again. That is exactly what the Egbali and Boli are going to do, because we've seen it happen before. If we're thinking like how Kweku's thinking, that we do have managers available, go in there, pay them money and get them out, are they going to do that? I don't think they're going to do that. Same way they get us players that have potential, and they expect you to turn them into champions overnight, or maybe in a few years, and they're okay with that. I think that's what's going to happen. Liam Rosignol, I see it happening.
Well,
Liam who?
Liam who?
Rosignol.
Finally, but let's get into this. I think everyone, before we move away from the discussions on the Premier League and Chelsea issues. Now, Nana, you look at it now, the title race, top four, and the relegation battle analysis. Let's get into that. Where do you see this title race getting into? Are Arsenal showing a clear case of, a champion of being champions this particular season?
I think Arsenal started the season well. Then they had a few iffy results. And at one point, a couple weeks ago, it felt like they were going to be bridesmaids again. But they redeemed themselves by beating Aston Villa incredibly well. They made sure that a team that was going to kind of try and edge them closer was not going to be a problem, and they destroyed them. And that was a statement win that they needed to have, especially with Man City on their tail. So right now, what they will probably need to do is continue to win and just hope that Man City drop points. But with that win against Aston Villa, I think they are very much in the driving seat. And if they can continue to pick up more results and play as well as they have been, they will end up winning the league this season. The title race is very, very interesting. Man City are not going anywhere anytime soon. And if Arsenal decide not to continue winning and they decide to drop a point anywhere, Man City will gobble it up. Aston Villa are also just cruising along. And outside of those three, I don't think anyone is going to break into the challenging for the title. The relegation battle, that is interesting. I think anyone from Leeds, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Burnley, and Wolves, we all know will definitely go down. Burnley, I think they will also go down. West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Leeds is going to be a tough battle. Even though Leeds have picked up some good points and play some good football, they still can't seem to win enough games. And Nottingham Forest with a new manager are going to pick up points. So West Ham is just terrible. They win a game and then they play terribly the next, and it's quite difficult to find any form of form that they are going to come into. But West Ham, Burnley, Wolves most likely to go down. But Leeds and Nottingham Forest are not too far off.
Now, Nana has introduced the bet of Nottingham and West Ham. Now, Antonio, I'll be coming to you on Manchester United. Kweku spoke about your Chelsea, so I'll let you talk about Manchester United. But Kweku, you look at Nottingham Forest and West Ham United, would Marinakis be cursing the stars? Why did I let Nuno go after giving me somewhat a brilliant season since my return to the Premier League? And do you think Nuno would also be cursing the stars? What is it that is not going right for him at West Ham United?
That's an interesting topic that you passed on to me, because I'm very conflicted when it comes to West Ham and Nottingham. You know why? I want both teams to be punished for their awful decision making. Awful decision making. First of all, West Ham had no business letting David Moyes go. That's number one. They had no business letting David Moyes go and deciding that, we want to go in and bring in a Spanish manager, want to play in a certain type of way. We want the West Ham way. If I ask you today what the West Ham way is, not even the most diehard West Ham fan can tell you what the West Ham way is, right? And so, I would want them to be punished, but I'm conflicted because I really like Nuno as a manager. I think he's a brilliant manager. And of course, he's a Mourinho disciple. So of course, I have a soft spot for him. And then same for Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest had no business letting Nuno leave. They should have supported him. They started the season very well. They won the first game 3-1 or so. Chris Woods was scoring. And then they decided to burn everything down, destroy everything, bring in Ange Postecoglou, who doesn't fit the type of players that they have, right? The team that they had built didn't fit the football ideology and philosophy of Ange Postecoglou, who have made it clear to everyone that he wasn't going to change at all, right? So it wasn't the right fit. There was no synergy in there. And then later on, they realized it wasn't working. So they made a quick decision, let him go. And then they bring in another manager that I really, really like. They call him the Ginger Mourinho, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very, very conflicted. I like both managers. I would want them to do well. But I hate the fact that both leaders of both teams have performed very, very poorly. What I know for sure is that one of them would be relegated, and it looks likely it's going to be West Ham that would be relegated, because they have a paltry 14 points.
Yeah.
Forest are 4 points better than they are. So they have that bit of cushion in there. Right? They have a bit of cushion in there. And they have a better squad than West Ham. West Ham have a really, really poor squad. The squad that was built by the previous manager was so horrible. They basically destroyed everything that Moyes had done.
Yeah.
They destroyed everything, right? So look, they have a poor goalkeeper in Ariola. He's been there far too long. They've tried to solve the striker crisis. It hasn't worked. They've brought in Allaire, they've brought in Fulkrug, they brought in Skamaka. It hasn't worked. There's no reason why they should have let their Jamaican Antonio. There's no reason why they should have let him go. After the accident, they should have kept him.
Exactly.
Right? Because for some reason, he's the only one that makes it tick for them. Right? That's West Ham. So for me, I think Nottingham Forest have the edge. They're likely to stay. Leeds look like they would stay. They have 21 points. And well, the mathematicians will tell you that once you get to 40 points, you are good to go. So if you've done more than half of it by the first half of the season, then you have your work cut out for you. So it looks like Leeds might stay if they continue with the same vein of form. But for me, West Ham are likely to be relegated, and they would deserve it. It just sucks that Nuno would be the one to have it. Yeah.
All right.
But before you move on, right, one other team that have done really well that I think we need to give a shout out to is Brentford. Brentford has done amazingly well.
Keith Andrews, especially, the manager.
Yeah, he's been a revelation. He comes in, first big boy job. He's given the Brentford job. He doesn't change much. You used to compare how they play now.
Exactly, and he lost crucial players too.
Exactly. He lost both strikers. He lost Yohan Wissa, and then he lost Mbumo.
Yeah.
And then he brings in Igor Thiago. No one knows Igor Thiago, but he has 11 goals. He's second on there.
He's been extremely good. He's been extremely good for them.
And even Ouattara Dango he's been very good for them because he came in to replace Mbumo. So, big shouts to Brentford. They've done really, really well.
Yes. We are going to get into one maybe you may not like.
Oh.
Well, Antonio, I want you to, hit me in there. You look at Manchester United. It's like they are like a treadmill being used for a 1 kilometer drive. They're exerting all the energy, but there's no movement because the treadmill virtually does not move. They win today. The next day is a draw. The next day is a loss. And what do you think United are suffering from? Where do they get it right? Now the manager has admitted he's ready to change his tactics and his formation and his style of play, but it's still the same results, inconsistency. What is actually wrong with Manchester United?
So I think from our last episode, we spoke about what exactly is wrong. And I agree perfectly with him. I think it's a structural problem. Yes, Amorim may be the face of that problem right now, but I look at Amorim from his Sporting days, and he's believed in his theories to work, right? And now, like you said, he's admitted to. Before he even admitted, we could see that he was open to changing things. Bruno is
Yeah.
playing with a bit more freedom now and all of that. Yet still, those results are lingering. WDL. Honestly, for a very serious club, I don't think these are things you should just stand by and watch on. The solution is simple. Coming from Abramovich, somebody who loved Abramovich methods, don't wait for a solution. Just get him out and bring somebody else in real quick. Because once we start getting comfortable with WDL, it's better to be bad than to be inconsistent. That doesn't take you anywhere. But if we look at it in the grand scheme of things, they are safe. Last season, they were lingering in double figures. Now they are safe. So is that progress? Maybe. But it all boils down to how much ambition does Manchester United have. Maybe they want top 6 to play European football next season. If so, great. Then they are doing what they should continue on that path. Do they want to compete for the league? I think that's a far stretch. But do they want top 4? Yeah, you should consider looking at somebody else. But things can turn around real fast. And talking about things turning around real fast, my team of the season so far has been Villa. Villa started off poorly, real bad.
Yeah.
Did not even score a goal. They did not even score a goal in what? They scored the least goals among top 5 leagues in about 5 games or so.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then they went on an 11 game run. So maybe Amorim has that in his magic hat somewhere. Yeah. They can give him time. They can do whatever they want to do. But it's Man United, and I always enjoy watching them go down. So
all right.
that's
Now,
my take.
Yes, Kwaku has already given his, surprise package. Brentford, Nana, are you siding with any of these two? And which team do you think has surprised you? And then give me a team that has actually disappointed you. My pick is Newcastle United. They have virtually disappointed me. But, which team is your pick for disappointment?
Before even Nana comes in, I agree with you 100% with all the money that they've spent. With all the money that they've spent.
Come on, they've been woeful.
They need to be asking tough questions, honestly. They need to be asking tough questions from the manager. They've been poor. I know Nana has a soft spot for the manager as well. So
they've been greatly woeful. Great, Nana. Yes, let's get into that, and then we quickly get into the African Nations Cup, and then we wrap it all up there.
I think the team that has been disappointing, even though they started well, is Spurs. I thought they brought in a few good players, and with the way Thomas Frank plays, I thought it would suit a lot of the counter-attacking players that they have with Kudus, with Richarlison, with Odibe, and the guy they brought in from Bayern Munich. But some way, somehow, they've just seemed to not kick on. They hit a certain point and they just seem not to win games, or they just play a one-paced sort of football and nothing exciting. They are not picking up wins and they are just cruising. They've been very disappointed. I thought they would be more exciting. I thought they would be more on the front foot. I thought they would be higher up the table than Crystal Palace, Everton, Fulham, but all those teams are ahead of them. So it's disappointing for me on the Spurs front. For Newcastle, I mean, they lost Isak. In as much as Voltemada has done so well, we all didn't think he was losing a player in Isak and the goals that he brings, it could be replaced. And I think Newcastle they're not too bad in terms of how they play. They are just not scoring enough goals. And at some point, they will click. They are not as terrible as they are being made out to be.
Well, that seemed to have settled it. I think that we just quickly need to move on and get into the African Nations Cup conversations. It's been brilliant. Many thought the AFCON wasn't going to be exciting, but, it's given us some wonderful moments.
But the AFCON, it's been a good tournament so far for me. It's lived up to its billing. I know. Talked about the Gabon crisis. Can you tell us more? What's really happening?
So the latest information that has come is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been banned outrightly from the Gabon national team, and it's all because of his misbehavior. This is the umpteenth time. Exactly. This is the umpteenth time that Aubameyang is being, slashed out of the team. And it's quite surprised that Gabon, wasn't it surprising Gabon came to the tournament and Aubameyang wasn't captain of the Gabon team? And they brought Ekwele Manga and all that because they thought Aubameyang needed that bit of control. But, the news is that he's been banned indefinitely from the Gabon national team after their winless AFCON campaign. It is understood that after the Panthers lost 1-0 to Cameroon and fell 3-2 to Mozambique, beaten 3-2 by Ivory Coast, the sports minister, Dr. Simplice Desire Bambula, confirmed the decision, announcing the dissolution of the national team structure and the Thierry Muyuma-led coaching crew, casting doubt over the gentleman's future. So it means that it's a total overhaul, like it happened to France after that disappointing World Cup and Euros campaign. Let's get into the tournament highlights. Starting from you, Antonio, let's give me the highlights of the tournament for you, and then Kweku and Nana, you follow suit with, your also standout moments from the AFCON 2025.
Yeah, Mike, for me, my highlights will be a bit non-conventional, and it is Patrice Lumumba. Patrice Lumumba, because when the AFCON started, people were looking out for the same vibe we got from the Ivorians, and we were not getting it. We were not getting that vibe. All of a sudden, DR Congo has become the team to watch, even when it's like we are not even watching football. We're just waiting for the cameras to get into the stands. And when you follow up on social media, it's just lovely. These fans they're amazing, and I think this is the heart of African football. We come in and we are amazing. The fans you just can't take that away from African football. So yeah, that's been my highlight.
Antonio, are you sure it's just Lumumba or the ladies, the Congolese women? Please be honest with us.
I will see that too. Yeah. I'm definitely going to see that, but I can't talk about that. Yeah.
I think the tournament has been great. It's been exciting. It's been littered with goals, and that is one of the things about AFCON that we didn't have a lot of in the previous ones. It was a whole lot of 1-0s and 1-1s, 2-1s, but this particular one has goals galore, and the attacking football on show has been exquisite. My favorite team to watch has been Ivory Coast. I love the way they play. They create a lot of chances. They are scoring goals, and I'm tipping them to win the whole tournament. It's just been an exciting tournament for me. I just love that there's been a lot of goals, and that's been my highlight.
The pairings for the round of 16 look really, really interesting. You look at games like Egypt and Benin. There's also South Africa versus Cameroon, which would be very, very interesting, in my opinion, as well as that Nigeria-Mozambique game as well. And then Antonio's favorite team, the Congolese team, would play Algeria as well. Really, really interesting fixtures in the round of 16. I don't know which ones you are looking forward to.
Yeah, so, well, I am very much interested in the South Africa-Cameroon episode, and then Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso. That is also going to be a cracker. Burkina Faso have been consistent when it comes to the AFCON in the last couple of tournaments, and every now and then they seem to get to the knockout stages. Their minimum is the quarterfinals, and they really have some very good quality players. You see Fudayo with his experience. They still have Edmond Tapsoba, Bayer Leverkusen, excellent performance. Dango Ouattara, in that attack. Traore, also in that attack. They rested him for, the last game. And the Ivorians, judging from how, nervy and sketchy they were against Gabon in the last group game, and even against Cameroon, I don't think Cameroon have a standout team that, nations, other countries cannot beat. So I'll be looking forward to that particular game. And also Algeria, DR Congo. That is also another game I would love to watch. The DR Congo team seems to have magicians all around the team. There's Bongonda, there's Mutusami, there's Mbuku, there's Feston Mayele, there's Cedric Bakambu, there's Noah Sadiki, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It's started. And the last game, look at what Kakuta gave them. Someone who and I think it gets difficult for me, and that is why I think coaches make players and coaches make team. For someone like him who couldn't thrive, have anything proper at Chelsea, look at him at this age, balling at the African Nations Cup. That is also going to be an interesting game to watch.
Kevin, one more thing. There's a revenge game, Senegal, Sudan, because CRPR's revenge on Senegal. They prevented him from qualifying to the World Cup. So that game will be difficult.
that game will be difficult for Sudan. I don't know why. They are
Tactical attrition.
Exactly, a bit, untidy for me how Sudan are playing this AFCON.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's not like when they were playing the qualifiers. They look more resolute. They look more organized. I don't know whether because they are missing a number of players, but critically, you look at the two sides, and I think Senegal stand a better chance. Maybe Senegal may struggle without the presence of Kalidou Koulibaly, but if it's not around, Sudan have proven that they are so listless in attack. They squander lots of goal scoring opportunities. They are not mean enough to bury the chances they create. And if you face a team like Senegal, where they have Sadio Mane, Nicolas Jackson, Eleman Ndiaye, who is still looking for a lot more in their midfield, Idrissa Gana Gueye single-handedly is just, marshalling that midfield and making sure the likes of Lamine Camara and others come in. It's going to be quite difficult unless Kwesi Appiah, Ignacio Josefo, Suare Campos, and the rest of the technical team have something up their sleeves.
Kwesi Appiah's mission is a tall order, honestly. He doesn't have the resources in terms of quality personnel, right? Senegal, they are there to win it. I said this from match day one, that if there's any team that has really declared their intent to win, it's Senegal. You might say Nigeria as well, because I think they literally cruise through the group stages, but it'll be difficult. But, football, one-off game, knockout game, anything could happen, especially from a minnow like Sudan. Senegal, they just need to start well. They need to be clinical as well. Unless, of course, the weapon fashioned against them, which is Nicolas Jackson, strikes again. I know Antonio has a name for Nicolas Jackson.
Come on, not over here. Jackson is one of the better strikers in the AFCON, so please, not that name. But yeah,
all right,
let me
Antonio.
take it. So
Yes.
So you did ask about standout performance, and Gal Kakuta is definitely up there. Been nice to watch, and sometimes you would not believe that this guy struggled so much in his club career and playing this good in the AFCON. And another name for me has been this guy. I'm trying to Ademola Lookman and Lau Foster. Lau Foster is playing like a proper number 9, and I like to see him do that. And Lookman, of course, his pairing with his connections with Nigeria's front line has been also the reason why they have 9 points in 3 games. So yeah, those are my standout players.
I mean, I agree. Honestly, last time I think we mentioned it on the previous episode that all the big boys have come to play.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one disappointment there.
Nana, feed me with that.
Aubameyang.
Well, that's true. That's true. There's been a huge disappointment. Huge disappointment. Then I asked myself, if you're a player of this magnitude and you cannot guide your team, Gabon, after that excellent World Cup qualifying campaign, and you still struggle, it raises lots of questions about you and your capabilities. So he's just been a terrible addition to the team. Let's get into the predictions. I will just ask quickly, and then we get into the predictions for the knockout stages. Starting from you, Antonio. Senegal and Sudan, who qualifies?
Senegal.
All right. Kwaku, Mali and Tunisia. How do you see that game and who qualifies?
I think the Malians would edge the Tunisians. The Tunisians, I think they also have an identity crisis. They've been struggling since 2004, honestly. Since their exploits in 2004, every year or every edition of the tournament, they come in and they struggle. So I think the Malians would qualify ahead of Tunisia.
Now, Nana, looking at the next game, I would want you to pick out who wins between Morocco and Tanzania, the hosts.
Oh, Morocco is winning that easily.
It looks like at the tournament, if you want to beat Morocco, you need to play 150%.
They are playing at home, so the support, the intensity,
and even officiating decisions.
Yeah, everything is going to go their way. So you need to be on it. You need to make sure that tactically you put no foot wrong and take every chance you get, or else they will get a decision to go their way, or they'll just batter you till you give it a go away to them.
All right. Kwaku, coming back to you, South Africa, Cameroon.
Oh, that's a tough one. Here's one thing I've noticed. The Cameroonians play with a lot of personality and pride. They don't have the most talented team when you compare this Cameroon team to the Cameroon of old. Also the Rojamela, the Raymond Calles, the Mark Vivian Foes, the Samuel Eto'os, that strong Cameroonian team. This is night and day, right? But they play with a lot of pride and they play with a lot of personality. once they put on that Cameroon shirt, they're a tough side to play against. So the South Africans, on the other hand, they have a very, very, very tactically astute disciplinarian as manager. Hugo Bruce, he's fantastic. A couple of years ago, I wanted him to be the Black Stars manager. But one thing I've learned is that managers alone can't win you games. You still need the players on the pitch to produce. And although Foster has had a great tournament so far, I think the Cameroonians would edge them just based off of the history that they have. That's based off of the fact that they play with a lot of pride and physicality. I think they would edge the South African team.
Well, looking forward to that particular game, Hugo Bruce. I'll be looking forward to getting one better. Now, to you, Antonio, Egypt, Benin.
I think it's a straight win for Egypt. I don't even see this going to extra time or anything. I think this is one of the easier fixtures for the North African giants, so Egypt.
Egypt wins that. Now, to you, Nigeria, Mozambique.
The way I would love an upset in this game, unfortunately, Nigeria have too much in attack. They have way too much in attack for Mozambique to compete. So I think if the strikers are on form on that day, they should be able to turn over Mozambique easily. And hopefully, what's his name?
Who?
The Fenerbahce striker, what's his name? The Nigerian striker. Osimhen. Yeah. Hopefully Osimhen will find his scoring boots and put in a few goals to get him going.
Well, I think he's already scored, though.
He's already scored, yeah. But he's still struggling to convert the chances. But if you know Osimhen well, you give him 10 chances, he will miss 8 and score 2. So you need to create a lot more for him. Yeah, he's that wasteful. Now, coming to you, Kwaku, Algeria, DR Congo.
Well, I'm rooting for the Congolese. Honestly, I know it's going to be a difficult fixture. Perhaps if you look at the games across, it looks like the most evenly balanced fixture. So, like, there's that in terms of levels between both teams, the Algerians and then the Congolese. You put them almost at par. And I think the Congolese would edge the Algerians. Or the Algerians are good. They play with a lot of intensity, but the Congolese are resolute. You know, Chancel Mbamba in defense, Wan-Bissaka at right back. We've mentioned Kakuta. Shehu Bakambu said he left his luggage has still not arrived in Morocco. I don't know if his luggage contains his goals.
He's mad.
If it's scoring boots.
If he doesn't want to play,
I think it was actually an unnecessary distraction. He shouldn't have come out to say that anyway. But for me, I think they would beat the Algerians.
They'll beat the Algerians. Now, I think Asari, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso. Yeah. Antonio, you'd also have your say on that game. Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso. That's a tough game on Tuesday, at the 6th of January at 7 p.m.
It's gonna be tough, but Ivory Coast, I tip them to edge this one. I think they have a lot more talent on show, and their players are very much interested in winning the tournament again. So I think they will have more than Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso are tough. They are resolute. They play very physical football, but I think Ivory Coast will have just enough, especially with Ahmad performing well in almost every game. I think they will have more than enough to beat Burkina Faso.
Antonio, do you side with him?
And I do side with him. I think the Ivorians are going to edge it out. But this is one of those games I would predict something that goes into extra time. Reason being, the Ivorians defensively have been a bit questionable. So, yeah, it could be a tough one.
Well, it could be a very tough one. And it looks like, yes, that is how we'll be drawing curtains. Any final words from you as we draw curtains on the show, this edition of our podcast? Yeah, Kwaku, any words? Nana, and then Antonio. Fine, let's wrap it all up.
For me, just sack Amorim and let's start afresh. That's all.
You want to start
Those are my final words, and I'm looking forward to Senegal. They should sack Amorim. Let's start afresh. It's not too late to sack Amorim.
All right, it's not too late. Nana, are you also repeating the same words?
Of course not. Who haven't we sacked? We've hired everyone and sacked everyone. At some point, you need to stick to somebody. So what I'm actually looking forward to is the round of 16. I just want to get back here after the games and see how well each team did. And I'm actually looking for the upsets in these games. And I really, really hope Mozambique upsets Nigeria, even though I know it won't happen.
Antonio.
So yeah, final words, definitely one beyond Maresca. I would love to see him coach Real Madrid to crown his ambition. That would be nice to see. It's not going to happen, but let's see.
All right.
Oh yeah, and of course, an upset to see Nigeria kicked out of the AFCON will be really nice for our social media here in Ghana. So that's what I will be praying for.
Yeah. To our friends from the fatherland, it's not like we hate you, but when you come out of the tournament, it's going to be exciting. Oh, thanks so much, gentlemen. We've covered a lot of ground today, dissected the halfway point of the season, and also the surprises that have shaped the season, unpacking the turbulence at Chelsea and the way forward for all the Blues, all the way to the electric action from the African Nations Cup 2025 in Morocco. Your voice makes this podcast what it is, and we love hearing your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget to also share the link with friends to help us grow, to keep the football conversation going strong. And make sure you are following us so you never miss an episode. We've got plenty more tactical breakdowns, hot takes, and football debates coming your way. Until next time, make sure you keep the passion alive, keep the analysis sharp, and remember, football is always better when it's 50-50. Thanks to you, Kweku Safo. Thanks to you, Antonio. Thanks to you, Nana Sari. My name is Kelvin Owusu-Ansah, and this has been the 50-50 Football Podcast. See you next time.